Hey guys, it's Brandon. I'm going to do the first video in a series that I'm going to get started on the great chess players and instructive games and exciting games from all the greatest chess players of all time. I think I'll call it the Master Game in honor of the BBC chess series from the early 80s and late 70s, which you can find on YouTube, where they have masters playing each other and grandmasters, and you get to hear their thoughts as they play their moves and stuff. So this was a game by Paul Morphy, who was the best player of I'd say the best player of the mid to late 1800s. Um, for those of you who don't really know anything about him, he was born in 1860. Excuse me, he was born in New Orleans in the 1800s. I'm not sure exactly when this game was played. That we're going to see is played in 1860. But he was sort of a child prodigy, playing the best and being the best at a very early age. And there was no world championship, no organized world championship at that time, but it was sort of recognized that he was the best player in the world by his peers and by the general chess world and all that. And he was American, obviously born in New Orleans. So, and Bobby Fischer himself actually loved Paul Morphy and Morphy's games, and he was a very attacking, very romantic era chess player, and he sort of defined the romantic era of chess, which was very aggressive, very sacrificial, sacrificing material to go after the king, and all those kinds of things. Chess technique and openings hadn't been developed to the point where they are now, but Fischer himself had said if you gave Morphy modern technique and opening training and all that stuff, he would be the best player in the world. So the first thing you'll notice about this game is that Paul Morphy, playing white, does not have a rook on the A file. He gave his opponent in this game rook odds, so a handicap of one rook on the A file. And I think specifically the rook on the A file, so he had the option to castle kingside, as opposed to being forced to castle queenside. So let's get started. Let's get a look. His opponent was Meunier, Meunier, French, I suppose. We'll call him J from here on out. So Morphy, playing white, began with 1 e4. J responded e5, and right off the bat we get into something aggressive. Morphy plays f4, the king's gambit. This is a very romantic line, and those of you who have played it know that it's one of the most aggressive and tactical lines that one can hope to get into, especially if it's the gambit is accepted. But J plays I think this is the Falkbeer counter gambit, d5. After e takes d5, e takes f4. Morphy plays knight to f3, preventing the queen h4 check from coming in. Preventing this queen f4 check from coming in, which is annoying for white, especially in this case because the bishop hasn't been developed, and g3 isn't possible. G3 is not a possible defense because of this. So in any case, knight f6 prevents that queen h4 anyway. So he plays. Interesting that he didn't. J chooses not to take the bishop here. Instead, he plays the pawn. He plays bishop d6. So Morphy developed bishop e2. I think trying to prevent this pin on bishop g5 from coming in, because it's not a very aggressive square for the bishop. It's sort of a positional square, as a matter of fact. But bishop g4 comes in anyway. And after castles, J decides to exchange the bishop for the knight, giving Morphy the bishop pair, but just exchanging a piece. So after bishop takes f3, we've exchanged one piece, and he's still a rook up. So it's hard to argue with that strategy, because when you're up a piece, you just want to exchange as much as possible, get to an endgame where you can just have a piece and the other opponent has nothing. So knight to e7 comes in. I suspect this move was done instead of knight to f6 to prevent any checks with the rook or the queen coming to these squares. So just to block any of those potential checks. d4 comes in from Morphy, grabbing some control of the center. Castles, c4. Now this becomes important. These pawns here in the center are controlling these squares. Well, not that square. And threatening to get moving down the board, which they do very shortly. So c6, just striking at the center. C takes d6, and knight b takes d6. just developing a piece. And now you'll see that Morphy is actually a little bit behind in development. His queen, and he still has a bishop and a knight on the back rank, while Jay has all of his minor pieces developed. But no matter for Morphy, he just plays c5, getting a pawn roll going, and Jay plays bishop back to its home square. This is an important move. Why, you might be asking yourself, not bishop here? And the reason for that, I believe, is because after pawn here and then say knight here, this wins a piece, or at least 2 pawns. No, just a piece for a pawn. And then, so I think that's why the bishop went back to b8. But this is crucial for it comes into important play later on in the game. So after bishop back to b8, back to its home square, d5, pawn roller kept going anyway, attacking the knight, and then d6, attacking the other knight, but he decides to trade off knights here with check on f3, so the recapture is forced before he has to worry about this knight. Just trading down some more pieces, and then knight c6 comes in. Now, you'll notice that with the pawn on c5 and d6, this bishop is blocked from getting out on this diagonal, and he'll have to move the a pawn out in order to free his bishop up. So bishop takes f4, since that pawn isn't defended by anything anymore. And a5 comes in just to free the bishop. Knight c3, Morphy getting his last piece off the back rank. Material is what it was at the start of the game, just a rook, 2 minor pieces, just queens, and then 1 rook down for Morphy. Bishop a7 comes out, attacking this pawn. Morphy calmly defends with bishop to e3. And then comes in the move a4, a pawn sacrifice, because the knight can just grab this pawn if he wants. But I think maybe Morphy was concerned about something like knight takes, and then queen h4, and if b3, this pawn is sort of pinned to the knight, and the queen and the rook are just sort of controlling this open or semi-open a file, and maybe he didn't want any counterplay coming down that wing. So after a4, he just played knight to d5, just getting his knight onto a center square, attacking these squares in the opponent's position, and we'll see that knight plays an important role very shortly. So Jay plays his queen to a5, and this is sort of a turning point in the game, which is where the game starts to become very difficult for him. He's now got 4 pieces in this corner square here, and this box here. And these pieces are absolutely incapable of doing anything to protect the king. And Morphy was the master at peeling open the king and going for the king, like most romantic players of his day. But the immediate thing is that this pawn is now attacked twice, this important center pawn, so calmly he plays rook c1, and later on in the game, this rook on c1 will have a big impact. King h8 is the move that comes from Meunier. I think maybe he was trying to avoid any lines like queen to g3, pinning this pawn, followed by bishop to h6, but probably could have gotten away, with that. So he plays king to h8 to get away from that stuff. Knight comes into f6. This is a sacrifice. There's no check. It's not attacking anything. This pawn can be taken. Or this knight can be taken. Of course, that would force a draw by repetition if you wanted it after moves like this. You could just shuffle the king and the queen back and forth until a draw by repetition of position was reached. So maybe Jay was trying to avoid anything like that. Although that doesn't seem like something that Morphy would go for, given this type of player that he was. But anyway, Jay plays g6. Now the logical move, queen to h3, threatening mate. Of course, this doesn't work as a defense, because this is still mate. Queen to h6 takes h6 as mate. So the only move, h5, comes in. And after, knight takes h5, offering that knight sacrifice again. So Morphy down a rook is still sacrificing pieces to peel open the king. And this time, Jay obliges him and grabs the g5 the pawn on h5, the g pawn. One thing to pay attention to is that Jay does have one threat in this position, and maybe you guys have already spotted it. If the rook was not on the back rank, then this queen here coming into f1 would mate the king. The rook is the only thing protecting this mate here. King is a little exposed. So Morphy has to always keep his eye on that in this position, and he plays brilliantly to do so. Queen takes h5 check, king to g7, and this move here was possible. Could have been fun mating, but instead he plays queen to g5 check, just pushing this king around. Queen to h4 check, pushing the king around. Queen to g3 check, king to h7. Now notice that the queen is guarding this square and any escapes from the king off of the h file. The king is forced now to stay on this file here. So, with that in mind, after king to h7, the winning move comes in, and Chessbase has clearly spotted it, and hopefully you guys did too. Rook to c4, and there's no way to stop the rook from coming into h4 with checkmate. The pieces here on the queen side are doing absolutely nothing. They're attacking nothing, and more importantly, they're defending nothing. They're just essentially non-entities. Jay essentially left these pieces on this side of the board, and it was like playing with a queen, knight, bishop, and a rook handicap. So in reality, on paper, Morphy started this game down a rook, but by the end of the game, it was almost as if Jay ended up with an even bigger handicap, because these pieces were just absolutely defending nothing, shut in by these pawns from getting across. The queen could maybe have come across at some point for a defense, but it was shut off by these pawns sitting here in the center, and so that was how that game ended. So this was just the first in a series of games that we'll be doing on Chess Masters. I hope you guys enjoyed that, and we'll see you next time.